I figured out the way to give my life to God was to give him my day. And the way I give him my day is I give him my to-do list. And that's, the title of the first book. I gave God my to-do list.
Hey everyone, this is Kim O'Neill from the Every Day is a New Day podcast and live show, and you're listening to the Going North podcast with the hilarious Dom Brightman. Be sure to subscribe to his show so you don't miss any episodes, and remember, every day is always a new day.
How's it going, my friend? It's Dominic Dom Brightman, yours truly, the host of this wonderful show, the Going North podcast. Just coming at you real quick with an FYI. If you hear anything strange, it's because these episodes, on average, launch 2 to 4 months after the original recording date. So if you hear anything that may sound a little off to you, it's because this was recorded anywhere between 2 to 4 months ahead of time. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick in case you heard something and it's like, hey, why didn't the host bring up that point? Or why did the guest say that? Or why did the host say that? Well, it's because 2 to 4 months ago, things are different as opposed to when you're hearing this right now. So just letting you know with that quick FYI. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. We got another super special, awesome human for you today because she's a fellow Christian, y'all. That's right, Dave, a fellow child of the King. That's right. So not only she put pen to paper and won awards for it, she's also a fellow child of the King, y'all. And not only that, she's also a mom of 8, a former executive in the high-tech industry, as well as a Christian mystic. All right, so definitely got to ask her about that during this conversation, as well as a Reiki Level II Healer. So let's give it up for Miss M.A. herself. No, not Massachusetts, but the marvelous and amazing Margaret Agard. How you doing today, Margaret?
Dom, I am great, especially if that intro. Yep, feeling really good.
There we go. She's good. So how many O's are talking here? The regular 2 O's, 3 O's, 7 O's? How good we talking here?
Oh, I'm up to 9.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. She's doing good.
It's a good day. It's a good day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's a good day. That's right. That's right. The month of March, and we're recording this in the Women's History Month, and spring is basically on the horizon. Indeed, although we're both in states where it's like if you just stand around for half an hour, the weather could change any moment. So
It's true. It's true. I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of Florida. I don't mean to offend people from Florida, but I'm not really into hot, sweaty, July in Baltimore. Okay, we get 9 months of that here. Yeah.
There you go. That's right. You're in a steamer for 9 months out of the year. Gotta love it.
I am. It's supposed to be good for your skin, so we'll see.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Just sweat out all the toxins, It's like eat a bunch of food, sweat out the food,
I was trying to take a walk when we first moved here every day. I'd just be so mad when I got home because I should not be sweating in February is kind of how I felt, And am I allowed to curse on here? It's not really a curse word. So my husband said to me, it's almost like Satan walking in here. And we live in West Virginia. And I said, well, you moved me from almost heaven, West Virginia to almost hell, Florida. And this is what you're getting, buddy. So,
Freaking hilarious. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 78 days long. So my goodness, so did you ever see yourself ever becoming a writer, like at the age of 12? Like how did that even come about?
no, I was very bad at making things up because I was an oldest child, and usually the oldest ones are very literal. And I just thought, no, I didn't see it. But oh my gosh, when did I start writing? I was almost 50. And God said, I want you to write your life on the internet. Now I'm old, so this was like 90, 2000. Blogs were not all over the place then. WordPress was kind of out, but it was a mess. And I thought, I don't know how. I'm often saying that to God. Well, I don't know how. And I found this site called Open Diary where you could write privately and people could comment, you could be anonymous. And so I started writing on there all the things that were happening as I was giving my life to God by giving each day to God, which was like, here's my to-do list. What should I do? Which eventually became, what do you want me to do? And after I'd been doing that for a couple of years, this thought came, write a book. That's how I took the thought, write a book. And I started to look at all the stuff I had written and to figure out how to kind of rewrite it into a book. And the thought came, no, that is the book, those pieces that you wrote. And so I chose the ones that were about my relationship with God and pulled those out. And a few about with my husband, Parker. And so that became the book. And I had a name for it. And my name was Apprentice to the Master, Thinking of Christ, that I'm just trying to follow him and listen to his guiding directions. And the thought came, call it In His Footsteps. I mean, there's some famous In His Footsteps books out there. And one's especially In His Steps by Charles, I didn't want to say Sturgeon. So I'm like, oh, and then now this is around 2010, 2012, when it's becoming a book. And the thought came, you need to buy that domain name, In His Footsteps. And, people who own domain names like that, they want some money. And I thought, well, I probably can't afford that. And I thought, well, here's what I can afford, God. So, they were asking a chunk of change. And I wrote them an email and saying, here's your offer. Here's what I can afford. And they took it.
Ah, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been an interesting journey. Okay, we're done. No, there's
Oh, no, you're not done. You still got more in you because there you got a third memoir coming out if it hasn't come out already, right?
right. It's what I did through the same time is I split them up into pieces. Like, here's my relationship with God and what's happening. And that's fairly short. It's only 120 pages. I did an audio book of it. It's about 3 hours because one of us was perfect in that relationship and it wasn't me. And then I took all the other ones where I was going through things with my husband, Parker, and said, this will be my third book. My second book was when we served as missionaries together for about 3 or 4 years. And so this third one is taking a while. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not at the end. I mean, I hope one of us doesn't have to die for it to be the end, but I'm trying to figure out the end of the book. I think I'm almost there. That's a much longer book because neither of us were perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's probably going to be longer than 5 wiener dogs, I imagine.
Yes, it is. It's interesting because I have learned over the years really to discern that what thought in my head is God. And I would say I'm about 90% good at listening to it and about 10% good at wishing I had. At one point in my life as a single mom and the sole financial support of the family, I was praying every day, what do you want me, what should I do today, God, just to get through the day? I had so much to do. And during that time, the thought came, you're going to meet the man you're going to marry next fall. And I thought, no, thank you. Because I still had 2 teenage sons at home. And I was thinking, teenage sons and a stepfather, I don't see it. And so I did meet Parker in the fall. I was not looking. And you would think you might call that a match made in heaven, right, Dom? Maybe. If God said you're going to meet him and here he is. And I guess I thought that meant it would be easy. Like, how many learning experiences do you need? But it was a struggle for both of us. And, we were trying to apply all the good principles that, about how to build a good relationship, but we were really struggling at times. And I can remember just once crying in the guest bedroom because I didn't want him to see me crying. It was Sunday afternoon and I missed having Sunday dinner with my kids. Even the college kids would come home on Sunday and we'd have a big Sunday dinner. And now I was 3,000 miles away in California. And he came in and saw me crying and said, maybe this was a mistake. And I said, I don't think it's a mistake. And then as he left the room, I knelt down and I said, I need a scripture or a verse or something to hang on to, to get through these times. And the answer came, all will be made whole as a result of this marriage. And so for the Christians out there, Christ used that word whole, and I had access to a Greek and Hebrew, dictionaries lined up with verses so you could click on a word. And whole in that sense, where Christ would say, thy faith has made thee whole, meant not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally whole. And my children struggled after the divorce from my first husband. And actually during the marriage itself, there was a lot of struggle, and I could see healing was needed, and I knew I needed it, and I knew Parker needed it. And so that promise is what kept us going. And also this prayer I like to pray, which I write about in the first book and also in the third, but not the second as much, which is, help me to see this person as you see him, God, and help me to love this person as you love him or her. And that became part of our prayers when we prayed together.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You love to hear it, y'all. You love to hear it indeed. You love to hear it indeed. That's even, in a way, leadership in a way, too, because it's like seeing folks through the eyes of God, too. It's like, oh, wow, because that would actually help a lot more than some of the other stuff if we see people for just where they are at the moment, because a lot of times we may not see the potential that they truly have, or the potential they haven't really tapped into yet, or the growth period that they're going through, because growth can sometimes be painful. I guess that's why they call it growing pains, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually had a radio show for a while. Again, because of God, it's like, I want you to start a radio show, and it's like, well, I don't have a clue. And so I did it for about 1.5 years, every Sunday, half an hour, but I pre-recorded it. And one of the times what I did was talk to a few of my neighbors and say, I want you to try this. Will you try praying this prayer? And the radio show is going to be about what happened when you prayed it. I just remember one guy was the bus driver for the local school kids, in addition to about 3 other jobs. And he prayed about a particular young man. And he said the answer he got had to do with that the young man was still developing, and, and things were going on with him. And I said, so you're saying God isn't finished with him yet? He said, no, it was more like God hadn't even started with him yet.
It's like, yeah, just woke him up, sent him on his way. He'll come back eventually.
Yep. Yeah. Do you want a story about what happened the first time I prayed it?
Oh, yes. Go on ahead and share.
Okay. So my son was 15 or 13, I don't know, but he was one of those years. And he's tall and well-built and, was already playing varsity in his school, 3 sports, loves sports, and arrogant, prideful, very critical of me as a mom, judgmental. I can remember him saying to me once, he wanted something. And I said, I don't really have the money for that, Dan. And he said, well, you should have thought through all this before you had this many kids. Kind of like that. Right. And I was like, well, you know what, Dan, even if I had the money for it, I wouldn't give it to you because A, it's not a necessity, and B, you should go get a job and earn it yourself. So those were how our conversations went. And I went to God and said, I'm just having a hard time with this kid. I love him because I'm his mom, but not really liking him right now. And that was when I first got the thought, pray to see him as God does. Okay, so I did. And then a few weeks later, no, it probably wasn't even a few weeks, I was at my mom's house and she had a stack of women's magazines in a basket. I'm flipping through and there was a story about some young man who had accused a favorite coach at the school of being sexually abusive to him. And the whole school, the kids had turned against him. There were signs all over the community raising money to defend this coach, the legal funds he's going to need. And I thought, oh, that sounds like something that happened in our town recently. So I was reading it, and then I realized, oh, it was our town. It was about that boy in our town. And as I'm reading it, he said at one point he was just felt suicidal because he was being pilloried at school. And he had on his nightstand a framed sheet of paper that was like signed by a few kids that said, we believe you, we're here for you. That's what it said. And I immediately knew whose name was on the top of that list, because I remembered the day that I was taking Dan to school. And as he got out, he said to me, I don't like it how this kid is being treated. I've put together a petition. I'm going to have to ask, the principal, I want to pass it around and get all the kids who believe in him to sign it for him. And then when I picked him up that afternoon, I said, well, how'd it go? And he was mad. He said he wouldn't let me do it. He said, we can't talk about it at the school anymore. Nothing is to be said about this at the school anymore. This belongs to the courts. And so he said, so I signed it, and a few of my friends signed it, and we gave it to him. And that was who God saw. He didn't see that 15-year-old that I was seeing at the time.
Oh yeah, because like, teenage years, horrible humans, they're all depressed and going through the emo stage. But it's like, nah, they got feelings and emotions, especially nowadays, thanks to technology and everything else, hyper advancing kids and everything else.
Yeah.
Oh man, but that's definitely good, sticking up. And I imagine that was a friend of his too, especially too.
No, he didn't really know him. He didn't really know him. It's a good sized school. It was in Fairfax, Virginia. But interesting, because now he's 40, this has been 25 years ago. The lessons stuck. But at 38, when the pandemic started, he went out and started talking to the homeless people in this town, started providing food to some. They told him who to and who not. They're like, those guys, they stick together and they get themselves plenty of money. Don't worry about it. But their big problem they had was that when the pandemic happened, they closed all the public places, right? Like the libraries were closed, a lot of stores were closed, all the public restrooms were closed. So their big problem was, we don't have a place to use a toilet or wash up. And so he went and spoke to the city about that you need to provide for them in some way or another. That they have. So he still is like that. He also has this disabled duck that I'm like, Dan, the reason he was kicked out, or she, we're not sure, its name is Pat, of its little group, is because it's not going to be able to survive. Well, Dan has kept that thing alive for 5 years. He gives it little, like, I don't even know what you would call it, little rehab, physical rehab stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. That's right. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. One day it'll become fully Donald again. At least the duck, anyway.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. So I was saying that, in our marriage, and my husband's actually a good man. So it's easy when I pray that for God to remind me how he's a good man. And I can see it. Another lesson from that. I'm just chatting away here, Dom. So my big complaint about him is he's older than I am, and he was born in 38, and he really is into there's woman's work and there's man's work, right? And I'm like, you know what? We're both retired. We're living in this house, and I think you should be helping with the meals and stuff. Like, it's not just me. I'm going to retire too. I'm going to stop cooking. That's how I felt. So I'm in there, because if he cooks, like, I could turn it over to him, right? And he would cook. But what we would be doing is eating raw hot dogs at 9 o'clock at night, which is not something you would do, I'm sure, but that was his, But, well, he might make something else, but I'll tell you, it'd be 9 at night, and I'm not eating that late. So I was like griping. I'm fixing this meal, and I'm griping away to God about it. Like, how come? And why isn't he? And all of these years. And he said, well, Margaret, first of all, he does help when you ask him. All you have to do is say, will you make the salad? And he does it. And I thought, well, that's true. And then he said, and the real problem is, Margaret, you're asking the wrong question. And I said, what? The wrong question? He said, yeah, you're always thinking about how doing things puts you out. Like, how will this put me out? And it really is the first question. If I'm really busy and someone needs help, I think, oh, now how am I going to get this other thing done and help this person? Like, I ask it a lot. And I thought, well, then what's the right question? And he said, the right question is, will doing this make this person feel loved? And that actually changed. I could look through my life and think over and over again how asking the wrong question had created my worst mothering moments. Like, oh, great. I had 5 sons. Here we are going to the emergency room again. I mean, really, I was the kind of mom, if they came in bleeding, I was like, don't bleed on the carpet. Go bleed in the bathroom. Then I'll come in and look at it. And I was not the most compassionate mother out there. So yeah, anyway, I had really tried to apply that. I was, with a group of women who help make sure people are taken care of when they're sick. And I don't like to cook. And the other woman who's with me doing that, she also doesn't like to cook. And so when people were getting sick, they were not getting soup from us. And I finally said, like, I'm going to have to take them soup for exactly that reason. They don't necessarily need soup. They just need to know that we're thinking of them and we love them. So, yeah. And so she started doing it too, but she gets hers from Trader Joe's. I make mine. I'm thinking I might do what she does.
Don't become a traitor.
Yeah, so my husband is on a diet. You would appreciate him, Dom. He would appreciate you. Because of his heart disease, he's on a diuretic. And the other day, as he came out of the bathroom, he said, I feel like I'm pissing my life away. You might have to. But
Nah. Don't want to do that, but even though it feels like it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So since you've been on this wonderful tour and really promoting all the wonderful work you're doing on these podcasts, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Well, there's a question I get asked most often that I like to answer, which is, what do I think would make the biggest difference for people? And for me, that what I do is I figured out the way to give my life to God was to give him my day. And the way I give him my day is I give him my to-do list. And that's, the title of the first book. I gave God my to-do list and got more done, more sleep, and less stress. And I honestly believe that if everybody did that the world would be a much better place. However you connect to the divine, whatever your spiritual background is, to just ask that question. And for me as a Christian, I was doing it before I got scriptural background for it. But as I did it, one day I was reading the Lord's Prayer, just thinking about it. And I thought, oh, these words stuck out at me. Thy will be done on earth the way it is in heaven. And I started thinking, what do we think is happening in heaven? All the angels with their to-do list are rushing up to God saying, oh, I'm so busy. I've got all this to do. Can you help me here? Can you help me there? I want to do this one thing. Will you make sure it happens like that, right? Or do you think they're going up to God and saying, boy, we are committed to your work, what you're trying to accomplish. What do you want me to do? And I started thinking, yeah, who? And Christ did that. Christ in John 8:28-29 says, the Father I have always with me, for I do always those things that please him. And that's how it feels when I give him my day. I mean, he knows I have laundry to do and meals to cook, and he gives me enough. And it has changed my life.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, indeed. Kind of reminds me of one of our past episode titles, Win the Hour, Win the Day. It's like, yeah, If you want to give your life to God, give Him every day, each and every day, one day at a time, y'all. That's right. All 365 of them. That's right. If you're really crazy, you might give Him 9 days out of the week, That's right.
Because that was when you planned to sleep, but then didn't.
Oh, man. So with all this wonderful creativity that you're doing, if not mistaken, you actually continuously write and really don't have a problem with writer's block. So any advice for fellow writers out there, especially writers who are also fellow children of the king?
A lot of people, I think, do write fiction, and it's good Christian fiction, and that it's not like not all the Christians are perfect, and the ones who aren't. It's can be complex. And all I can say is I admire you and just keep going, because what one Christian author pointed out to me is by writing like that, he could explore on a much deeper level the issues that people have and how they figure them out and overcome them. And that he can bring to the forefront maybe Christian dilemmas or the application of Christian principles when we finally buckle down and apply them. So yes, people who write Christian fiction, I'm all for it. People who write Christian memoir's not easy, and it helps to be completely honest. I think especially if we're trying to write something inspirational, we don't want to point out, oh, and by the way, I'm the sucky, complainy, whiny person, and God is using me. So I'm pretty sure He could use you too. But, so I think with memoir, you have to be truly honest and really share the deepest, hardest times of your life when you turn to God and the answers you got.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely, indeed. Especially with the memoirs, indeed. It's like, yeah, gotta go deep in here. That's right, gotta uncover stuff. Oh, put that back in the closet. Oh, let me come back to it later. It's like, oh, let me talk about this time I had lunch with a penguin. It was a good time.
What is with you and the penguins, Don?
Don't worry, camels get love too here.
Okay.
The camels get appreciated every Wednesday of the week.
Okay.
Oh, God. So if your wonderful book series was a food item, what would it be and why?
I think it would be chocolate covered ginger. It's got a little bite to it and some sweetness, and yeah.
Oh, wow. No hesitation on that one. That's what I'm talking about. First one to say chocolate covered ginger too. Like I never even thought of that one.
My husband loves chocolate covered ginger.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess I
So
have to
do I.
try it then. Because
Yeah,
I've never
it
even
does.
had that before.
Got a tiny little bite like ginger, crystallized ginger. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, that's something new. That's right. Try it at home, folks. Tell your friends about chocolate covered ginger, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Not talking Gilligan's Island here, though, but just chocolate covered ginger, indeed. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're in the year of 2022 still with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Why do I not know that you always ask that? Anyway, all right. What I get to myself? Well, I would actually go sooner to start asking what I should do to God, or what do you want me to do? And I would be saying to myself, oh, be sure to do this now and apply all the principles I learned. I know times look really hard today, but when I was 25, we went through 3 recessions. There was such a gas shortage and the prices had gone up so high that we could only get gas on certain days of the week, depending on whether our license plate was even or odd. And inflation was 9%. Right now it's 6%. And interest rates on houses were 9%, eventually went up to 12%. And so I think, well, we got through that time and we thrived. And what I would say to myself is, we can get through this and thrive. And, there isn't much I can do about world peace, but I can do something about peace in myself and for those around me. And that's going to bring us world peace, right, Dom?
Oh yeah, that's right. Especially when the peace pipe is involved, y'all. That's right.
You like that part? Okay.
Well, it's true. It's like, hey, world peace. Like, hey, just one person, but hey, if I have peace within myself, and that's the main thing as well. Cause say at the end of the day, it's like, hey, went through 3 recessions where inflation, they put the weed on it, went through the roof, and it just stayed there, and then more inflation came, and it's like, hey, we got bigger balloons now, y'all. We got some more helium. We got some more helium. We're part of the Lollipop Guild. That's right. We're coming for your bills. We're gonna keep getting bigger. Oh, man. Well, yeah, definitely solid advice, though. Have that inner peace indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, actually, before I even mention the whole point and focus of where we can find Joey's and 5 fellow Christians to share the salvation testimony on the podcast, I'm not sharing that for those listening who may need that inspiration, or even just need to know about how your Christian walk all got started.
I first felt God's presence as if I had met him when I was 6 or 7. Up to then, I remember learning a lot about him, but there was a day in church when I felt as if I met him. And that's when I first began to pay attention to that spirit, that presence. And when I was in grade school, when I was upset, I would go to my room. I don't know what other kids did, but I would read my Bible. I remember having that same sense of his presence and his love and that peace that comes from it. And that has evolved. When I was in my 20s, I prayed to be able to discern which of those thoughts in my head was him. And I have paid attention to that. Because to me, when I'm doing that is when I feel the Holy Spirit. And that's what is purifying to me, changing to me. I know I'm only given it because of Christ's sacrifice for me. I am grateful to him for that. And I love him for that. And John says, we loved him because he first loved us. And I definitely resonate with that. And he doesn't always take us through easy times to accomplish what needs to be done. So I know that's true. I love Romans 8:28, which a lot of people will quote, that all things work for good. And now, obviously, if you put good things work for good, it'd be like, yeah, no kidding. So what he's really talking about is bad things work for good. And, I believe in just this chance to give him my life. Because how do I end the first book? This is what I said. What I learned from that book was to actually truly feel his love, to really know how much he loved me, because I felt how much he loved other people. And up to that point, I was trying to do good so I would know he loved me. And I know every Christian in the world will say, yes, God loves you. But most of us believe it up here in our head and not really in our heart. We feel like we've got a ways to go. But at the end of that, I thought, no, I know he loves me. And because I know how much he loves me, I want to go out and do good so other people can feel that love too.
Yeah. That's right. Feel the love like a giant teddy bear, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. Feel in your heart, y'all. That's right. That's right,
Or
indeed.
sometimes, like Paul says, like your father who loves you will chastise you. Sometimes it feels like that.
Oh yeah, that's right. This hurts me more than hurts you, buddy.
I don't think so, but yeah.
It's like, hey, can I go over here? Yeah, sure you can. And a 2x4 and knocks you out. It's like, oh,
There's no point. Yeah.
like what happened? Oh, I don't know. You just
Well,
asked
the
me to
thing
go
I
the
noticed
direction.
about his, if you want to call it punishment, I don't really think of it as punishment, is that whatever he gives us is designed to help us grow. Like if your parents mad at you and send you to your room, that really isn't, or hits you, that really isn't designed to help you grow, right? But whatever God puts you through is designed to help you grow and become a better person. And, maybe I needed it. What is that saying? Instead of being grateful, instead of being, anyway, unhappy that you didn't get what you wanted, be grateful you didn't get what you deserved.
Right. So instead of punishment is growishment.
It's a growishment. Thank you, Don.
This is gonna help you grow, buddy. Like yeah, bad joke. But hey, I know it's good jokes is well then again. What the heck? Yeah, it's all good jokes. Indeed, well, no matter where they are, whether it's a kid's book or out of a banana. So for those who want to peel over to your wonderful website and cop all of your wonderful wares and keep up with all the stuff that the Mighty Margaret's doing, what's the best way for folks to do so?
At inhisfootsteps.com, the main page, I have listed the 2 books that are complete and the one that's coming out. I have kind of scrolling screen of blog posts or whatever catches your eye and some YouTube videos. And at the bottom part, I have links to my social media pages. I'm mostly active on Facebook and Instagram. And then it'll have a little pop-up just in the corner. It doesn't like cover the whole screen where you could sign up for my newsletter. And Don, I really am a lazy person. And so you are not going to get spammed. You will get a newsletter a month only because I make myself do it. But it's good. It'll have stories in it and pictures of cats. But mostly stories, like the ones I told here. And if I ever get that 3rd book finished, I'll tell you about it there too.
There you go. Tell the whole world the meow. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed, y'all. So that's right. So meow over to that wonderful website. Sign up for her meows letter, y'all. That's right indeed. You'll get all the good stuff there, folks. That's right. That's right indeed. When book 3 launches, she'll have her pyramid complete, y'all. The trifecta.
That's right. I think of it as faith, hope, and share. Yeah, that's how I think of them.
Yeah, that's right. And then there may be a cherry on top, indeed.
Charity.
That's
I
right.
left the word out. I left that PY out. Okay.
It's a charity cherry. That's right. The puns stay on the bun here. So any parting words before we close up shop?
No, thank you, Dom. And keep up the good work.
Thanks a bunch for sharing some of your time out of your day to listen to the Going North podcast. I would be really honored if you head over to the website goingnorthpodcast.com and share this episode with someone that you care about. And also, for bonus points, if you like, click on the shop tab on the website and grab some gear, advance others to advance yourself if you haven't already. Have a great rest of your day and keep advancing north to your greatness.